Hey guys, so I decided to do a video of the Magician deck that I played at the Springfield Regionals yesterday. I got 3rd place, went 7-1, and yeah, a bunch of my friends were messaging me, asking me for the list, so I decided to make a video of it. So, here it is. Three Joker. These are good. You can search whichever piece you need. Sometimes they're annoying because, like, you can't make Time Star with them or Synchro with Harmonizing Magician with them. But usually you can still do your standard Omega Tornado play. So you just use it to make Tornado Dragons. So these are good. Give you an extra monster. 3 Wisdom Eye. These are solid. Give you an extra monster to the extra deck to fuel your Pendulum Summon. Search whichever piece you need. These are good. Sometimes you won't use them if you use Pendulum Call, but pretty much if you're not using Pendulum Call that turn, you're pretty much always using Wisdom Eye, so it's a good card. 3 Purple Poison, 3 Double Iris. These are kind of like the just core of the deck, or like the engine of the deck. They're not like the most powerful cards in the deck, but all of their effects are just useful. You grind with them and just do a lot of cool stuff with them. If you're under Pendulum Call and you activate their scale effects, even though they're not destroyed, they still resolve. So, like, you still gain the 1200 with this, or the double damage if you're using this one. And then, yeah, and a lot of times with these, if you do, when you do your plays, if you have an even number of monsters, you'll make just as many Omegas as you can, plus your ending Xe, usually Tornado Dragon. But if you have an odd number of monsters, you'll end with, like, one of these, like, on the field, just, like, so that if they clear your board, you'll get an effect next turn. Either, like, one of them will trigger. So, these are really cool. 3 Harmonizing Magician. This is like the main one that like you're trying to summon. Yeah, like these get you the extra monster. They're the tuner, so like your best extra deck monsters, most of them are like Synchros, Omega and Ignister. Omega, if you're going first, it's like you pretty much always the first thing you make. Ignister, if you're going second, is like usually the first thing you make. So these are really important. These are like one of the best cards in the deck, in my opinion. The card that like raises the ceiling of the deck, lets you do what you're trying to do. Those are really good. 2 Oath Dragon. So, like, this is a card that also you, like, really want to see, like, turn 1. I think, like, turn 1, you always want to see, like, one of these and one of these. This either lets you do a bigger Pendulum Summon, because it helps you get around the link rule, how you can only summon one monster from the extra deck at a time. So if you have 2 in the extra deck, you can add 1 back to your hand with Oath Dragon first, and then Pendulum Summon. So it's like effectively lets you Pendulum Summon an extra monster from the extra deck. And if not, like, you can do your if you don't have like an extra monster in the extra deck, you only have 1 to Pendulum Summon, you can do your Pendulum Summon, do your Synchro Summon with Harmonizing Magician, and then add back from the extra deck with Oath and normal summon the monster, and then do another Xe or Synchro play. So these are really cool. Like, these, always want to have one of those turn 1. 2 Black Fang Magician. This one, like, I just kind of thought was the worst one. I thought about just doing 1 of these and 1 Dragon Pit Magician. I thought Dragon Pit Magician would be really clutch in some matchups, but in testing, I ultimately found that, like, I'd usually just be too afraid to use Dragon Pit Magician because I wouldn't want to hit like a barrier or like a Cyclone or something chainable, or even just pitch a card from my hand. So I ended up just playing 2 of these instead. And these have some cool effects, like the monster effect. When it's destroyed, it special summons a magician from your graveyard. So like that makes it so that you can play, like, do a bigger Pendulum Summon without having to worry as much about strike or warning. Like, if you get striked or warning, it'll trigger and summon a guy from your grave. So like, yeah, if you're just searching for like X Magician to do 1 extra monster with your Pendulum Summon, you can just search for this one. So if you get striked, or warning, you can just bring a guy back. So these are interesting, and it halves the opponent's monster's attack if it's in the scale. So that, I didn't do that too much, but I think I've used that a few times. That can be a helpful effect. 3 Astrograph Sorcerer. I wasn't sure how many to play of these. So in theory, like, I just played 3 because, like, basically what it is in concept is it's another copy of 1 other Pendulum card in your hand, plus a 2500 monster. Because if you go to pop a thing, let's say Wisdom Eye, you special summon it, search another copy of Wisdom Eye, and so you have another copy of that, plus the monster on board. So, or you can, if you have like a good enough play already, you can hold it in hand, so that next turn, if they clear your board, you can then special summon it, get a search, and help with the recovery. So, those are cool. I usually sided 1 out. Also, if you do with Wavering Eyes, another play is It's ruled that if you resolve a Wavering Eyes and add this to hand with the eyes, you can immediately special summon it off of that destruction from the Wavering Eyes, and then search one of the cards that you popped to your hand. So that's a cool play. Then 4 hand drops, 3 maxi, or nah, not that. Not yet. Haha, I said not yet. 1 maxi, 3 ash. I definitely wanted to main ash in whatever I played this weekend. Even though this is a type of deck where, like, you want to open as many combo pieces as possible, I think it was just still worth playing these. This is one of the best, like, non-combo cards. These are, like, probably Maxi and Ash are 2 of the best non-combo cards, like, you could play. I think because last format the best deck was Pure Zoo, and because this was, like, not as good against Pure Zoo, sometimes people, you would want to side it out. I think people don't realize going into this format just how, like, good this card is against, like, every other deck. Like, last format, a lot of times, like, I remember just playing against, like, whenever I'd play against any, like, rogue deck or any deck basically other than Pure Zoo, this was, like, one of the first cards I'd want to put in. It's, like, one of the cards I'd, like, most want to draw. So, I think this was just worth maining, and it was really good. It's good against pretty much every deck. So, I liked these in the main. For spells, 3 Desires. Desire, so, I was siding one of these out a lot at first in testing, but ultimately, by the weekend, I decided I was not going to even side one out, because, like, the amount of times you draw 2 is not big enough to, like, prevent you from wanting to play 3 and just increase your chance of seeing it. Plus, even if you do see 2, a lot of times, like, by the time you're going to activate the second one, you've probably already searched at least 1 copy of most of your cards from the deck, so, like, it won't kill you to activate a second one, so it's actually not terrible. A lot of times you can activate 2 in the same game, and it can win you the game. And even regardless of that, I just think, like, having the increased chance of seeing it turn 1 is just too important. Like, just going second, like, you need every card you can get to try to break through the opponent's board. So I think the extra 2 cards from Desires is just too important. Even going first, just to, like, help consistency and help you, like, not have a brick. I think it's just worth playing 3. 3 Stargraph. I know most people played 2, even going into the weekend. I knew most people were only playing 2 of these. That was probably correct. But I just wanted to build the deck to have, like, just all combo pieces, like, basically maxed out on all cards that were either, like, searchers or, either that searched a card or any consistency card. So, because I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to build the deck, so I just went with that. And I pretty much always sided one out. It was a good side out. Siding out's very hard with this deck. There's not too many cards you can actually, like, want to side out. So this was an easy side out. So 3 of those. 3 Duelist Alliance. I was very happy with this. This is another good searcher consistency card. It searches a lot of the cards in the deck, including Pendulum Call, the Trap, like, one of the monsters, the spell. It's just a really good card. Definitely 3 of those I was very happy with. And then probably the most unique part of my deck, or at least uncommon part of the deck, was 3 Pendulum Call. I like this card a lot. I think this is a really good card to play 3 of. I was very happy with it at 3. A lot of people bring up the fact that it conflicts with Wavering Eyes. And probably one of the reasons I was able to play 3 of these in the main was because I did not main Wavering Eyes. But I think just, like, being able to search whichever 2 pieces you need, this card just fixes your hand. Like, usually the main 2 card, like, this card lets you get Harmonizing and Oath, or whichever, if you have one of these, whichever piece you're missing. And if you can open, like, if you have Oath, Harmonizing, and, like, any 1 or 2 other scales, that's enough to play. Like, that's a solid hand. So if, like, this card basically gets me what I need to play turn 1, I think it's just worth maxing out on. In addition to 3 it's searchable by Alliance, but still, like, if you still max out on these, that way if you see one of these, you can search the Trap with Alliance, which I did a lot. So definitely the biggest downside to this card, and the main argument I could see for not playing these, like, at least this many, is if it's ashed, it's definitely puts you in a bad position, can put you in a bad position. Some games I would activate Desires, and that would get ashed, and then, like, I would resolve this and still win from there. So, like, playing 3 Desires and 3 of these almost in a way mitigated the ash issue, but it's still pretty bad if this gets ashed. So that is the one downside to the card, but I just think it's just worth playing other than that. It conflicts with Wavering, but usually it gets you, like, this gets you a solid enough board that you don't need to resolve any of your other Magician effects. That, you don't need to resolve Wisdom Eye. You can still resolve the other Magician effects after you activate this, so it's just Wisdom Eye and Wavering, really, that it conflicts with. Then 2 of the Trap. You don't need 3. You don't really want to see more than 1, so you wouldn't really want to, like, you wouldn't want to draw 2. So playing 2 is fine. It's usually searchable. The only downside is if you banish both left desires, but that doesn't, not a huge chance of that happening, so that's good. And then 1 upstart. I play 41 with upstart. I actually threw this in. I was at 40 all week, and I threw this in as the last card, just because it really helps with siding out. It just literally just gives you an extra card to side out, because there's more cards. You'll want more cards in your deck, games 2 and 3, than game 1, because games 2 and 3 you'll know what side cards you want in, whereas game 1 you just want all combo pieces, because you don't know which side cards you'd want in. So that's why in theory it's okay to play. Like, I think it's just good to play this no matter how many cards you're playing. So that's the main. I liked it. I liked 3 pendulum calls. So that's that. Then for the extra, 2 Omega. I borrowed one from a friend. Shout out to John Drost. He lent me. Actually no. Joey Forgetto lent me his. John lent me his Gamma Seal. 2 of these. This is the second one actually came up. I won 1 duel because of the second Omega. I made 2 and then put back his card on his standby phase. And then later on in the same game, like, he made Masterpiece, and then next turn he popped one of these, which I think was a mistake. And then I returned it to the extra deck to return his other continuous spell to the extra deck, and then he didn't have any more Masterpiece targets, and next turn I killed the Masterpiece, and killed him. So there's some cool combos with 2 of these. Omega's really good because, like, it's the one way that basically gives you an extra deck zone. It's the one way you can, like, other than Decode Talker, that you can make 2 extra deck monsters in the same turn. So, like, the standard play I always do with this deck is basically Omega, Banish, Tornado Dragon, set trap, pass. So Omega's really cool. And then Tornado Dragon, pretty much this is, like, I probably ended on this turn 1 more than any other monster. It's really good in the mirror, very good in the mirror. Just, yeah. You can, a lot of times also, if you didn't resolve Pendulum Call, you'll pop your own double iris to search for the trap. So that's a good use for it. 1 Time Star. People used to play 2, like last format, you always play 2 in this deck. But now, because of the extra deck rule, you can only really end on 1 Exi. And it's like, a lot of times you'll just end on Tornado Dragon instead. Like, if you have, like, depending on the hand. So I realized I wasn't really going to make 2 of these in the same game, so I cut the second one. And the second one never came up. One's, I think, fine. This card's cool. Sometimes if you just don't want to make Tornado Dragon, if you feel you have, like, a trap and, like, something out, like Ash maybe, and you're safe enough to just make this, it gives you more momentum to kill them next turn. Time Star's cool. Ignister, this is probably, like, the best card in the extra deck. Like, going second, this would usually, like, the first card. It's, like, the main card you'll want to, like, summon, unless you're trying to summon something else to bait a trap first. But Ignister's real good. So many times, like, I'd pop my own double iris to spin one of their cards and then search, like, the trap, or just pop Purple Poison to get a second pop. Ignister is really good in this deck because of the fact that it's the best removal, doesn't target, and that it lets you pop one of your own cards to get an additional effect. Utopia and Lightning. I'm not sure if I made this. A lot of times Castell can do a similar function, or, like, Ignister even, but sometimes this definitely comes up if in certain situations. It's just good to have in the extra deck, just like back in the day when we all played that card, before Zoo. 1 Castell, same with Castell. 1 Diamond Dire. Probably wouldn't make this as much as a lot of the other extra cards, but sometimes I felt there might be situations where, like, you'd want to pop a thing and still then need to make another extra monster to pop another thing. Like, let's say Ignister wasn't enough, you want to make Diamond Dire and then Ignister. This helps you clear your own extra deck zone to then be able to make another extra deck monster. 1 Dweller, never made it, but against certain matchups it can come up. I figured if I played against a Dino deck, or, like, supposedly it's decent against Spirals. I don't know too much about Spirals, but 1 Dweller, just in case. 1 Trapeze Magician, never made it, but I think it's a Pendulum spellcaster deck. It makes sense to play. Can definitely provide OTKs. I'm sure it will come up at some point. 1 Beals, this is an interesting card, because this card was really in demand this weekend. Like, people were talking about how, like, at the UDS, they were going, one guy was, like, offering 50 for one. They hit 40 on TCG Player. I never actually wanted to make this card. There were many times during the day where, like, I could have and thought about just, like, making it turn 1 and sitting on it. But almost every time, I ultimately felt that I'd rather have an Omega, which will still do something for me, isn't as good in and of itself, but will at least allow me to make more plays next turn with my extra deck zone. I never, like, to summon this card in your extra deck zone turn 1, you're committing to basically saying, okay, I'm never going to be able to summon another extra deck monster that can clear something. So, like, you're committing to trying to beat them just by beatdown and, like, your trap. So, I never really felt comfortable doing that, so I never actually made this, but I'm sure that, like, I think it's probably better just for situations where, like, your opponent already has something established, where, like, maybe Masterpiece, where you just need to out it and make it in that situation. But, I don't know, I think that might be a card to actually cut at some point, but gotta keep testing it, see if it comes up more. What if this guy's really cool. He came out in the newest set, Code of the Duelist. When he's synchro summoned, he destroys all face-up monsters your opponent controls, and not yours. So his only requirement is 1 tuner and one dark non-tuner. He's 2500 attack, so, like, it's like Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend, but it doesn't destroy your own monsters. So, like, I never made it, but there were a lot of games where, like, I almost made it. So I think it'll probably come up. I think this is a really good card. I played one Scarlet, Red Dragon, Archfiend, because it was already in the extra deck before this, and I thought, like, sometimes, since you do sometimes want to pop your own, like, monsters, it might come up, plus it does burn damage, so I played it. Never made it. I did almost make it one game to pop my own thing, just like that, but I might cut that. And then one Tico Talker. I made this a lot on Dueling Book in testing last week. Sometimes, like, turn 2, you can just make, like, a ton of plays with this card. So, he's good. And then side, 3 Wavering Eyes. Best card in the mirror. Although, I think I won 3 or 4 duels where my opponent had this, or at least 2 games where my opponent resolved this, and I didn't. Mainly because of Pendulum Call. That's another reason I really like Pendulum Call. Going second, a lot of times, like, I was able to win. Like, my opponent would have Wavering Eyes set, and I was able to win because they couldn't pop my scales with Wavering Eyes, and I was able to play that turn. But other than Pendulum Call, this card's really, like, it's Wavering Eyes. It's really good. I did lose. I think there's another 1 or 2 duels where they did resolve this, and I did lose to it. So yeah, Wavering Eyes is good. I'm probably gonna put this in the main after this weekend. I think it's just, now that it's been established from, like, the UDS and all the different tournaments this weekend, that Magicians is just the best deck. I think it's worth maining, just because, like, I said to people, it's a card that, like, in the mirror, it's great. I don't actually want it in other matchups, because it's not like back in the day where, like, you could summon infinite monsters from your extra deck. It's only like, it won't actually net you card advantage. It'll just, like, it'll trade your scales for whichever piece you need, and if you get a search, be an even in card advantage. But other than that, like, so I don't actually feel like it's a card you want in non-pendulum matchups. I don't actually think it's good if you're not playing a mirror, but in the mirror, it's good enough that I think I might put it in the main, because Magician seems to be the dominant deck. But anyway, then 3 Dual Mockbird. I cited this for the mirror, and, like, it's a card that, like, in theory would be really good against both the mirror and Draco. In practice, like, I actually never sided this in. I didn't side this in against anything except for the mirror. And even in the mirror, by the end of the night, I had actually just started siding Wavering Eyes and Cosmic Cyclones for the mirror. This is a card where, like, if your opponent has the right hand, it can just outright win you the game. And there are other times, like, if your opponent doesn't have the right hand in relation to this card, that it can just do nothing for you. Or a lot of times, like, you can even resolve it, and it might be decent, and then you might just end up, like, getting into, like, a grind game and losing anyway. It's a hit or miss card. I'm actually probably going to cut them from the side, but I don't think I've resolved it at the regional. Yeah, probably will cut those. But sometimes it can go off and be really clutch. If your opponent, like, there are a few times where I got hit by Activate Duelist Alliance, Search Pendulum Call, and then Droll, and then, 3 Cosmic Cyclone. I ended up siding this in more than anything else this weekend. In and of itself, there are other cards I'd much rather side. Like, Droll can be higher impact even. Kaijus in most other matchups are, like, very good. I'd much rather have one of those than, like, a Cyclone that could just miss or hit a barrier or something. But because of Anti-Spell Fragrance was the sole reason why I generally went with this over other cards siding in. It's actually very good in the mirror. I think in the mirror, it's better than, like, Twin Twister, let's say, because, like, a lot of people are citing Twister for the mirror, and I was trying to explain to them, I think this is better because, let's say you're going second, right? And they have, like, a back row and scales or whatever. I'd rather have a Cyclone that will just directly deal with the one like, face down, let's say, rather than Twister, which, like, you think with Twister, oh, it's a Pendulum deck, you can hit scales, that's good. But, like, I'd rather actually have, I think the card that you'd be discarding for Twister, unless it's, like, a dead card, like a Duplicate Call or Alliance or something, that card you'd be discarding will probably do more by contributing to your combo in and of itself than by simply popping, like, a scale on their board, which in and of itself isn't that relevant on your turn. So I think Cyclone's better. It's just more precise for the mirror. And in other matchups, I'd rather have Twister against Paleo, I guess, but against Draco, I don't know. I think Cyclone's just same concept, just in any matchup. Same concept of I'd rather not discard a card from my hand. I'd rather have that card contribute to my combo because it's a combo-based deck. So I cited Cyclone instead. I was happy with this card. For going first, I cited 2 Chaos Trapple, and then a Pendulum Call. This is shout out to Blair. He gave me this idea when we were testing during the week. So it's better than Strike in the mirror because, like, it doesn't trigger all of their Magician effects, which is really relevant. Like, if they a lot of times people might Pendulum summon, like, Harmonizer, Black Fang, Double Iris, thinking if they get Strike, they'll still get 2 effects. And if you Chaos Trap hold them right there, like, that's just such a plus, like, a blowout for you. Like, that could just win you the game. There was a game where, like, I bricked. I opened, like, double Stargraph, Astrograph, Chaos Trapple Ash, and, like, I hit exactly that, like, Harmonizing Magician, Black Fang, Double Iris. And I ended up coming back and winning that game from there. So these are all, and I wouldn't do that unless, like, most of the other relevant decks in the format were also had Darks and Lights, but they do. Like, Trickstar, this hits Candina. Against Draco, this hits Masterpiece, so it's still good enough in the other matchups that I think this is a cool card to play right now instead of Strike. And then 1 Pendulum Hole, only for the mirror, obviously. Basically, against a Pendulum Summon, serves the same function as these, but this is searchable by Duelist Alliance. So if you're going first and you already have the trap, let's say, and you don't need, like, Pendulum Call or another piece, like, you can just search this, and it's, like, a searchable counter trap. So, for the Pendulum Summon. So, that was cool. I resolved this against someone, one game. And then 3 Kaijus. Kaijus are just good against Draco, good against, like, ABC Dragon Buster. Some people cited System Down, but I felt I didn't really want to commit side spots specifically to ABC, because it was only, like, the 3rd or 4th most popular deck going into the weekend from what I was seeing on Dueling Book. So I cited the Kaijus. I cited them in a lot. Probably cited this in more than anything else except for Cyclone. They're good. So I thought about only citing 2 in because you really don't want to see more than 1 in, like, this combo-based deck. But usually cited in 3. They're good. And yeah, that's it. Deck profile is a little long. So I don't want to take too much more time. But shout out to my teammates. We tested a lot last week. And I guess shout out to all the people I played and rated on Dueling Book too. I like to play Dueling Book, and yeah, I think it's really good practice. So shout out to John for lending me some cards. Shout out to Joey for lending me some cards, and shout out to Chris Purpora, who basically lent me the entire deck. I don't know if I would have been able to get the whole deck together without Chris, so that was cool. And shout out to, yeah, I think that's it. I think top 8 at the event was 2 Trickstar, 2 Paleozoic, 2 Magician, and 2 Unknown. I'm not sure what the other 2 were, just in case anyone's curious. And yeah, that's that. Probably gonna take this deck to ARG Atlantic City in 2 weeks and see how that goes. Gonna be an interesting format. The UDS I think was 5 Magician in top 8, so that seems to be the dominant deck. Gonna be an interesting format until Spiral comes out. So yeah, thanks guys.